clicking, but I'm looking for a sister to revive them when I kiss them. If you want some never, just let me know.
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are looking at another news item for War Thunder, and this is a massive update to Air Battle Audio. As it says, in update 1.77, what we got was a massive update in the game engine, and also came along a bunch of ground audio sounds which made the environment stand out. So if you were in a closed environment such as a town with houses everywhere, it would feel like you were shooting in a town with a lot of echoes, with a lot of explosions and a lot of reverberations. Whereas in air battles, well, you don't really have that, so it never really got over to that system. It seems that in update 1.79, with the introduction and revamping of some old aircraft such as the P-40s and the BF-110s, we're also getting a revamp of the air battle sounds, and this seems to be working in certain little ways. So the first one is the environmental sounds, so sounds around you. One of the really nice things about Boris's mod that he made for Air, which a lot of you didn't really like, is the fact that you could hear when people were near you, and therefore it could give you a slight competitive advantage, but also a realistic advantage, because you should be able to hear planes which were next to you. If you don't remember which sound mod it was the mod which made propellers sound really high-pitched when they went past you. So a lot of people obviously didn't like that, and therefore didn't want to use the mod, but I thought it was completely fine. This is an example of what is coming to War Thunder when it comes to the sound for the environmental side of it. So you can see that what they've done is with the engines, they've basically beefed them up a little bit, and also the environmental sounds around them to compensate, which is always nice to hear. Generally, the environment in air is built around the aircraft themselves and not reverberations, so being able to hear slight little things in the distance, whether it be explosions, whether it be other engines, is going to add to the realistic experience and also help a lot of simulator players in the long run. Now, obviously, with the introduction of different sounds, what we also get is a introduction to different sounds for weapons as well, something that we saw with some new guns as well. Now, on the dev server, I tested guns such as the ones on the FJ4B, the Spitfire, the IL-28, the SU-2, and sorry, not the SU, yes, the SU-2 I tested, and then also stuff like the T-26M and all of the other tanks. Now, with the tanks, for me, it sounded like a lot of the new ones sounded very much spring-loaded, which is just odd to me, but there might be some mechanism there that I'm not understanding. But with the aircraft, it sounded pretty much on point. There was a lot of bass added to them, making them feel like there was something in the area that was shooting. And when it came to enemy aircraft, the best way I can describe it is between each gun now, it is very distinct what is shooting. So from that, you can tell what is on you. You can tell, you know, if it's a 50 cal, or a Browning, or a 37mm, so overall it can only help your gameplay experience if that is the case. So let's have a look at this SU-6 here that they're using as an example. So even though, to me, that audio seems slightly out of sync, you can tell that they're going for a surround sound feeling. If you didn't realize, because you don't have headphones on or something like that, when the camera actually goes around the engine, it changes from left ear to right ear. Now, I don't have my right ear on, but I was listening to it before. So they're going for the surround sound experience. This is something that has been very prominent since update 1.77 in ground forces, to give a feel of a whole battlefield, and also just so you can tell where people are coming from. It's incredibly important to add a feature like this. If you don't add features like this, then you end up like some FPSs where you're getting shot in the face, but you're hearing sounds behind you, and it's very, very disorientating. So the fact that they've taken into account that idea is great. Now, let's talk about the guns themselves. So the engine block sounds kind of similar to what it did before, especially with this SU6. What sounds different is the 37mm. They sound incredibly meaty, incredibly bassy, you know, the boom, 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 boom. And whether that's historically accurate or not, you will definitely say it is much more distinct compared to what it was before, meaning that it will be easier for you to tell what is shooting you. Also, the machine guns sound a lot more lighter and less bassy, so overall, you're getting this feeling that with the SU6 in particular that they've shown here, that there is going to be a large difference between the sound of large caliber guns and small caliber guns, and that overall is really, really good. That is something that has to be done so you understand what is shooting at you if you're not able to see them in, as I said, a simulator setting or in a ground forces setting. Something that they also changed in update 1.77, which will help these new sounds in 1.79, is the fact that you can hear shots which fly over your head very distinctly now. So you can hear the whizzing sound and also the type of shell it is, generally from the echo from the gun that is fired in ground forces, or just by the, the sound going over your head. So when planes are coming in to hit you, if you don't have time to look upwards, you should be able to tell what plane is coming in anyway, meaning that it will just help you, with your gameplay experience and add that little bit of extra skill, which is always nice to see in War Thunder, which you don't have to pay for. Now, let's talk about, they call it attention to detail, which I think is pretty interesting. I would say it's cool that they've done this. If you've also realized in 1.77, what they've done is, in update 1.77, if you're in a tank, it sounds completely different to if you're outside of the tank when you fire. Completely different. Now, in aircraft, this is the case, but it is slightly closer compared to in tanks. So we'll give it a watch here. So there's two large things there. The first one is the cockpit open, cockpit closed thing. And it shows that when you have the cockpit closed, the sounds are more muffled, meaning, because there's a barrier between you and also the sounds. That is really a great attention to detail there. And it does mean that you will get a different experience if you are in the cockpit or if you're outside of it. Now, with that said, it won't really benefit you that much. It won't benefit the player, but what it might do is benefit the person they're trying to kill, once again massively in Simulator. Now, the other one is the turrets that it showed. The first turret sounded very similar to what we've seen before. Now, I just want to check something. Cockpit open, cockpit closed, random machine. Now, to me, these guns look a little bit more high-res, but I suppose they're still quite low-res compared to the rest of it, so never mind. But yeah, so with the first turrets, with the 2792s, it sounds about the same as it did before. There might be slight differences, but with the second one, there was a distinct creak and a distinct clank. Now, whether this is going to annoy people or not is going to be something that is going to be interesting to see. For me personally, when the Tiger had its squeaky suspension, that was incredibly annoying to me because I had to hear it constantly. With the turret, though, you don't really have to hear it that much, so it might be completely fine. But yeah, with the Tiger, it was literally every time you moved. With the turret, you should only really hear it when you're using it manually, so overall, I don't think it'll make that much of a difference. But it is nice to see the lengths that they're going to be able to make the sound design really good in the game. Now, I would actually say, I mean, even since update 1.77, I haven't used any sound mods. There has been no reason for me to use any sound mods. The in-game sounds now are so good compared to what they were before. And the main ones which contribute to the actual enjoyment of the game are the environmental sounds, which make a massive difference to a gameplay experience. And it is nice to see that they're upgrading them not just in ground, which they did in 7.7, but also in air in 7.9. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.